So, our news today is going to be Warner Brothers fucking up as always here. Uh,
Still,
Still here. Warner Brothers Discovery says its TV channels are worth 9 billion less than it thought. This is from
that's a 9 billion loss in 1 quarter.
Yeah. It says just realized that Warner Bros. Discovery just realized its TV networks are worth 9.1 billion less than they originally thought, leading to a net loss of 10 billion in the second quarter of 2024. The massive plummet in valuation is being recognized as a non-cash goodwill impairment of charge here, primarily coming from the network section of the company. That must have been one eye-opening internal audit here. Man.
How are you that off? Like, how do you go a couple of years going like we've got 10 billion more than we actually do? Like, how did you make that mistake?
And it seems like I mean constant news about what's been going on at Warner Brothers. The CEO David Zaslav axing a lot of stuff, axing a lot of things on the platform of Max, animated shows, movies. Of course, famously the Batgirl movie that didn't come out. They put their stocks into the Flash, and that failed pretty. They put their chips into that, and that did not work out so well. They did
Ended up
the
being my least favorite movie of all time.
Wow. You hate that movie that much?
That's as bad as like was that Florida Gator movie from like the 50s that they make fun of on like Mystery Science Theater. Like that is as bad as that.
Yeah, they put all their stock into it and it failed. That movie flopped pretty bad. And they tried it, and then recently did a merger with Discovery. That's why it's called Warner Brothers Discovery now. That they merged with the Discovery Channel. So it seems like they've been
They've been
trying to,
talking about breaking that into two companies recently again too, because of how badly it's been going.
yeah, and it's just also losing because this article says Warner Brothers Discovery just lost its rights to broadcast the NBA beginning after next year. That's going to be also a huge revenue loss right there.
Huge. Yeah. And there
And
was the AT&T merger before the Discovery merger that also lost a ton of money.
yeah,
So there's two mergers back to back.
And it says, yeah, and the company is in fact suing the NBA to retain the rights, saying that it matched Amazon's offer for the NBA and that NBA isn't legally able to decline them if they match. So let's see how that happens there. See what that kind of going to happen. And all of it's kind of been under the leadership of David Zaslav, as I mentioned before. Probably the most hated CEO right now. Maybe I think him, Elon Musk, probably up there, probably two of the most hated
Jeff
CEOs.
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos
It's a
there.
nice little trinity you have right there.
Yeah. In fact, David Zaslav kind of looks like a Batman villain a little bit, kind of almost
Yeah, he
there.
looks like Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely kind of has that look to him. There. What's kind of your take on the situation?
I mean, I think it's a mess. I think that for probably a number of different reasons, and I think the AT&T merger is where I feel like a lot of these news stories really started happening, and I'm sure it was going on behind the scenes even before that. But I think that they just made a lot of poor business decisions as far as what they want to put their money into. I mean, Justice League, right? Even before The Flash was a big flop, the Justice League movie was a big flop in theaters, and then the Snyder Cut, they had all to put all this money into that, and then that ended up not really being a big financial payoff. Um, stuff like the Suicide Squad game that came out earlier this year was like that lost them $200 million within like a month of release. And like they're still like trickling out DLC for that, but I guarantee as soon as they put out what's been promised, that they're walking away from that project. And I mean that's another big element to this is during the AT&T merger days, there's a lot of talk about Warner Bros. AT&T was like, all right, we're going to sell off all our video game studios because we just need to make some money back. And then that ended up not happening. That's actually why we got two Mortal Kombat games in a row instead of going Mortal Kombat 11 and then Injustice 3. They decided, well, we don't know if we're gonna. The team at NetherRealm was like, we don't know if we're gonna have the rights to DC to make a DC game, to see this will actually come out. So let's just stick to Mortal Kombat. That's the license we actually know we have access to. So you ended up kind of messing with that game dev's cycle of development even. And then, but they ended up deciding. let's keep our game divisions. Let's not get rid of that. And then pretty much the moment that Suicide Squad came out, which of course is a live service game, which we're seeing tons of live service games bomb in general. It was not a good idea to do that in the first place, especially with Rocksteady, a studio that was famous for making the Batman Arkham trilogy, a series of popular single player games. And then the whole mantra David Zaslav was putting out there was like, well, everything's going to be live service. Suicide Squad's going to be live service. It's like, oh, is Hogwarts Legacy 2 going to be live service? Hopefully not. It just seemed like, is that Wonder Woman game that a Monolith is working on? Is that going to have live service elements? Because the loot boxes in Shadow of War, second Lord of the Rings game, hurt that game a bit, right? The game got lambasted on social media for having loot boxes where you could get better orcs integrated into the game and had to grind for orc loot boxes. The whole thing is just stupid. And I mean, the video game side of it is only a small portion of just this just ridiculous series of just seemingly nonstop bad decision making. It's like every week these executives, Zaslav in particular, just change their mind, right? Suicide Squad flops. Oh, never mind. We do, after all, want to sell off all our game studios now again. And it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like anybody knows what they're doing over there. Like, I think Zaslav probably knows what he's doing when it comes to reality television. That's why he was at Discovery, right? He knows how to pump out content that is made for almost no money, for extremely cheap, to just go on reality TV like TLC and stuff like that. He probably knows how to manage that pretty well. I don't think he has any idea what he's doing when it comes to content that actually needs a budget to get made and be successful.
And you mentioned the video game, so this is another article here. Warner Brothers looking to sell off game division. Report claims Warner Brothers Discovery appears to be trying to get out of the games business, according to a new report from Financial Times. Warner Brothers is looking at the possibility of selling off at least part of its game division. The report comes just 2 weeks after Warner Brothers Games acquired multiverse developer Player First Games. The report claims that by selling off games, it would help the company avoid possible lawsuits from various debt investors. Nothing has been finalized, however. The Warner Brother currently owns major IPs like Harry Potter and Mortal Kombat. Do you know how well the Harry Potter Hogwarts? I think that game pretty sold pretty well, didn't it?
It was like the highest selling game that entire year.
Yeah.
Like it was up there. It did extremely well for them, which is like all the more it's like stop doing this live service bullshit. Just put a single player game out and let it do well. Clearly, that's what's actually selling.
Then also How did Mortal Kombat 1 do?
On the sales charts, it's actually doing pretty well. I know at like Evo, it's not necessarily like the most played game. And I know it's maybe doesn't have the greatest online servers, but even just like last month, I saw some financial reports, and it was in like the top 15 highest selling games like that month, and that's almost a year after release. So I think that's at least decently sold well.
I'm looking at it right here. So Mortal Kombat apparently has sold 3 million copies as of November 2023, and then
That's pretty good.
Hogwarts actually sold 22 million copies in 2023, despite only
That's
4 million.
exceptional.
Yeah. And it was when it comes to the best-selling video game each year. Yeah. So did really well there. And generated 850 million in global sales revenue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like an exceptionally well-selling game. It's just with this whole thing, I feel like Dr. Manhattan. It's like it's 2021 and Warner Brothers is considering selling off its games division. It's 2024 and Warner Brothers is considering selling off its games division. It's like we've been here, we've done this. They can't make up their mind on anything. They're even talking about rebranding Max back to being just HBO because they can't even stick to that decision.
Yeah. It's switched names, what, 4 times now? Switched names there.
Yeah, yeah. There was HBO Go, then there was HBO Now, then there was just HBO, then there was HBO Max. Now it's Max. Now they might go back to it being HBO. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
And
how are
so
you ever going to build a brand with people if you can't decide on what your brand is?
And with Hogwarts Legacy, so to finish the story here, as of May 5th, 2023, its revenue reached 1 billion, and by the beginning of 2024, global sales totaled 24 million copies. So it's a
That's like
billion.
Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption numbers right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big property for them. It's a huge property, and that's what you see a lot of them trying to do as far as a lot of their decisions when it comes to content is like they're gonna redo Harry Potter again in the TV show. They're gonna basically do that whole story again. They're trying to do more stuff with Lord of the Rings. I think they're trying to do another like trilogy there with Lord of the Rings again. Video games. They're trying to still pump stuff out of that because that's their big IP. Of course, they still
Yeah,
got superhero stuff with the DC stuff. Still trying to get that
that's an
going.
untapped mine for video games, honestly. Like they barely touched any of those characters.
In Lord of the Rings or in DC.
In DC. I mean, like, yeah, you've had a few kind of crappy movie tie-ins, and then you have the really great trilogy or quadrilogy of Batman games. But like, where's, I mean, there's still never been a great Superman game to this day. Like, we not one time has that been something that's turned out well. How are you gonna not try and work on that?
Yeah. And the Suicide Squad game could have been a cool game if you
Could
didn't
have
have
been.
all the bullshit. I haven't played the game, but from people they said the story's pretty funny. It's like a good Suicide Squad story. Just the gameplay every time it turns to the gameplay, it kind of sucks there. With
Yeah.
that, and then the Wonder Woman game, it was some great people kind of working on the Wonder Woman game.
Yeah, it's
Who
Monolith who did the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games, which I really loved those Lord of the Rings games. I think they're great. Like, yes, the second one, it had some of that loot box stuff, but they had also patched it out very quickly because people complained. And so, like, if you play that game, you play that sequel today, you're not going to deal with any of that. It's all been removed. Um, so, like, I think those are two very strong games, and that's the team making the Wonder Woman game. I just pray that they're not forcing live service elements into that.
Yeah. And to go back to the IndieWire article here, that could also explain some of the troubles that Warner Brothers has been having here. It says Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said on Wednesday earnings call that market valuations 2 years ago, when they first merged in April 2022, were quite different than they are today. Are quite different than they are today. In doing this, acknowledge that change in value and better aligns them with their goals moving forward. Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Winfield said he's not dismissive of the magnitude of the impairment, but this represents the value shift toward streaming, and with the company still believes has strong momentum. That's also another thing. All the streaming, everybody's trying to have an app. Everybody trying to have a streaming service. After Netflix kind of set that trend,
Yeah.
everybody wants to do it. Disney did it. Max did it. I mean, Warner Bros. Had theirs already because they had Go. That was around for a long time.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, and that was like you had to have a cable subscription, all like, and then like the HBO Max, or just like their actual on cable HBO extension already to use HBO Go.
yeah,
But yeah, it did exist for quite some time before any of these others.
that exists, but everybody's trying to do it. Is this streaming method? I mean, it's been talked about. How profitable is it? I mean, we always hear Netflix is always in debt. How much they owe?
It seems like it's not. I mean, Microsoft with Game Pass, right, is also, you know, because the new signups for it taper off at a certain point in time, and so much of the profitability of streaming services, whether it's Game Pass or HBO or Netflix, any of these, it seems like their revenue primarily depends on getting new subscriptions every single month, getting brand new subscribers every single year. And at a certain point, it's like there's only so many people on Earth, and there's only so many of those people are going to sign up for these things. You can't expect infinite growth. And at a certain point, these things hit a wall, they taper off. Maybe they have little rises and they come down and go up a little bit, but there's just they lose this surge factor. And it seems like as soon as that surge factor's gone, they just become unprofitable, like across the board.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And when Disney, I mean, they made their streaming service, it was about, okay, that's how you get all these Star Wars shows and all these Marvel shows. Like, we need to create content to draw people to this platform because we
Yeah.
spend a lot of money designing this streaming service. So we got to bring a lot of people in here to subscribe, and okay, we got to bring out the big properties that everybody loves and knows. That's the same thing. And then Disney's actually raising their prices again. They've flip flop back and forth in prices. Now they're raising it. Before with ads, it was 7.99. Now they're going to bring it up to $10 there. With
How
even
many
with
times have you read about Netflix doing that?
Netflix doing that, changing the prices, you couldn't. They said they were cracking down on sharing the password and all that, so people couldn't share accounts. Now they're talking about they're doing a bundle stuff. It's like, oh, well, you can bundle these three together. You can get Disney and Hulu and HBO Max and get them all together for the good price of 17.99 and do all that.
Like, oh, so I'm getting cable again,
Yeah,
pretty
I
much.
mean, it's basically just cable again, basically. So, is it a profitable method for these companies to do streaming services? I don't know if it's that really profitable for them to
It
really
doesn't
do it.
seem like it. It seems like maybe in the short term, because again, you get when it's brand new signups, but as soon as that goes away, it just doesn't seem like it works.
Yeah, because
Game Pass also just raised its prices, so
yeah. So I mean, it's good if there's some people who stick around, sure, but like I said, there's only so many people. There's only so many people who want to stick around, and subscribe, and it's like, some people may think like, well, what am I really even watching on here? Like, if I'm not watching the new thing that just came out, like I'm not really using it, so I might as well just cancel it. So it's like, yeah, you can't just create. I mean, I get they're trying to meet that demand of constantly trying to serve people with new content all the time, but you just can't always meet that hunger and that demand. And Warner Brothers, I mean, where they're gonna go off from here, I don't know if, as far as happening here, can they recover from this? Can they kinda bounce back from this? It seems kinda hard to imagine, at this point. And then this is the last bit of the article here, this, IndieWire, let me share it here. It says, since Warner Brothers Discovery formed a merged company a little over 2 years ago in April 2022, the company's stock has fallen nearly 70%. The company's stock fell another 8% in the after hours trading and is now approaching an all-time low. Late last month, a report came out of Warner Bros. Discovery was exploring a potential spinoff of its film and TV studio and streaming from its linear TV channels. Much as Warner Bros. Discovery's 40 billion in debt lies with the linear channels, so a divorce would free up the studio to segment to unlock more value. But it also comes with major risks, with some analysts completely doubting it. The company cut another 1,000 jobs in July, primarily across finance, business affairs, and production divisions. Um, there. So trying to trim the fat there. Um, yeah. I mean, you think they're also going to sell off probably some of the DC stuff? Probably a lot of that characters.
well, I mean, I in just these some of these articles in this last week, I did see them say, like alongside the game division, consideration for selling off DC, just like wholesale as a property. Like, hey, we just get it out of here. We need to sell things. We need to somehow survive and make up this money. I don't know that that's at, actually going to happen, but like if they get desperate enough and just to keep the company alive and not be in debt, maybe it will. Um, I I mean, I really think Warner Brothers is going to go on the shelf with Fox and just be a movie studio that we fondly remember for its glory days in like another 5 to 10 years. It's just going to be something we reminisce about, but I don't think it's going to be around for that much longer. Or it'll be
Mm,
something else. I mean, I have a friend of mine. He's one of the co-hosts on my stream on Tuesdays, and he's a little bit more business minded than I am. He actually went to college and for business school and stuff, and he has been talking for a long time about how it looks like with how much they cut and sell and try and ship off and cancel for tax write-offs and he thinks that maybe they're just trying to create a scenario in which the company becomes small enough that it can then be bought up by someone else, Universal slash Comcast probably being a big name
mm,
in that bidding battle.
yeah. I mean, what kind of little smaller companies are kind of left there to be just eaten up by the big one? You got Disney already, that's already eaten up 20th Century Fox already, and they've eaten up
Yeah, they already
them.
filled their Infinity Gauntlet of studios out.
Studios. There. What was the other one they got?
They bought Pixar first, then they bought Marvel, then they bought
Yes.
Lucasfilm, then they bought Fox. So
They got that. Paramount. I think there was talks of Paramount merging with. And that kind of fell out. I think. Who was Paramount about to merge with? It was. Dang. Let
would
me.
that maybe Universal?
I think it was Paramount agrees to merge with Skydance. I think maybe that one was with.
Okay. I think Skydance is the smaller one in that scenario.
Yeah, Skydance there. So yeah, we see Paramount, Global. They see what they kind of do. Yeah, a merger of Skydance and everything like that. So they were planning on maybe trying to do a merger, then that kind of backed away there. So you see how these companies trying to merge together basically, and then it's these super companies kind of get built, and a lot of these little companies kind of get eaten up there. But yeah, I
Welcome to
mean,
Blade Runner.
and you see that, I mean, Warner Bros. Yeah, maybe that is a situation. Maybe they're trying to sell off all their assets, look good for some other person to come in and kind of get them. I mean, they have a lot of great property. I mean, Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings stuff they got the DC stuff, they got Dune. They have what's another big property that Warner Brothers owns there?
Um, I mean,
Uh,
God, they definitely have a lot, but As far as like big mega properties go, Mad Max, granted that didn't exactly do super well at the box office this year. So,
Looney Tunes, they got a lot of
oh yeah,
that.
Looney Tunes is classic.
You know,
I mean,
it says
Animaniacs, I guess I mean, maybe that's not a huge mega property, but
it's so here is top 10 Warner Brothers franchises. So of course Harry Potter. It says movies alone that's 34.5 billion. Oh no, collectively it's 34.5 as worth of Harry Potter, and then movies alone are 9 plus billion. Then there's Batman, which is 29 points, just Batman by himself, 29.6
it's
billion.
not even DC, it's just Batman.
Just Looney Tunes is 15.9 billion. Has collectively it's kind of made for them. Ben 10 is wow, Ben 10,
Oh,
okay.
I didn't know that was that big.
7.85 billion. The whole DC extended universe 7.63 billion. Superman 6.9 billion. Middle Earth, the whole Lord of the Rings stuff at 6.84 billion. Mortal Kombat 5 billion. Scooby
Oh, you're
Doo
right. Oh,
4
wow, I can't believe I couldn't think of Scooby-Doo.
Scooby Doo, and then Big Bang Theory comes in 10 at 4.57 billion. Is worth
Wow.
there, or how much it's made there for them. So they've got a lot of good stuff they can kind of sell, sell there. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we'll kind of see there. Keep you all updated with what's going on with Runner Brothers.